Good evening, welcome to the Goffstown Sewer Commission. This is our regularly scheduled monthly meeting. As usual, we begin with introductions and we'll start with Corey.
Corey White, sewer foreman.
Keith Canton, Assistant Sewer Foreman.
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary.
Dave Pierce, Commissioner.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
Dan Taylor, Commissioner.
Mike Trank is not here tonight. Corey will give a report from him. And we do not have our selectmen's rep here at this time, so we'll proceed without him. And if he arrives, you'll see him when he shows up. All right, at this time we normally have public comment, so at this time we have an open period for public comment. If anybody has anything to say, we'd like you to step up to the microphone. I'll just let everybody know there's no one in the audience, so I will close public comment. Minutes of July 28th and July 11th. We'll start with the 28th. We had a special meeting that night. Any corrections to the minutes or changes as they are presented?
A motion to approve the minutes, public and non-public, held on June 28th.
Motion's been made to approve the public and then the non-public session, which we had under RSA 91A:3(2) compensation and hiring. Dan?
Second the motion.
Motion's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. The next is the minutes of July the 11th. That was a regular scheduled meeting. Any discussion of the minutes or changes as presented?
Looks good. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 11th.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes from July 11th. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
Thank you, Lynn, for a good job.
Thank you. I mean, you're welcome.
Makes
Thank
our
you,
job
too.
easy.
We have nothing under new business tonight that's on our agenda, so we'll move directly to our old business, and Corey is going to give a report for Mike. The first one is the Elm Street Pump Station Improvements. Update.
Elm Street, we're just waiting on the heater to come in so that can be installed. Sherpond's got probably 1 or 2 days left of painting and cleaning after the heater's installed. And then they'll pretty much be at substantial completion. And then Mike Trank and I will walk through and make a punch list of anything that's left over, and we will work on that.
Are they going to do the final paving for prior to the punch list?
That will be included on the punch list, because I don't think their guy is going to be here by the time we do our walkthrough.
So I want to be sure, Corey, that when you do your substantial completion checklist submission with Mike, that our retainage is a set amount, and that's for the whole project, but uncompleted items should be part of non-payment for the substantial completion. So if the top coat paving is not done, or any other items not done, those amounts should not be included in the substantial completion payment. Thank you. Did you get squared away with that electrical panel thing that was going on?
Yeah, the electrician came.
Just explain to the commissioners what was going on.
So the Elm Street pump station lost power 3 times in 7 days. It wasn't for a long time, but it still lost power, so still had to come down, check it out, figure out what was going on. And the last time, it actually made it so none of the pump controls and nothing would work. So I had to reset, shut the whole building down and reboot everything, and it worked. Since then, we haven't had another issue, but Joe Witz from Sherpond has reached out to Gorman Rupp so they can come and double check their work. The electrician double checked everything he did, and everything looks good. He's confident that it's not something with his work, but they want Gorman Rupp to come down and double check their work to make sure there's nothing maybe in the panel itself that is tripping.
Undersized, maybe?
Undersized, yeah.
What's the name of that? Gordon, G-O-R-B-O-N?
That's
Gorman.
Gorman
Gorman.
Rupp.
Rupp is R-U-P-P.
It's basically, it's Water Industries who owns it.
There was no identification of some functionality kicking in.
Yeah, they tested.
And caused an overload.
Yeah, I mean, they tested the switches to make sure even killed the power to see if it would still click when they were and everything seemed to work properly.
Well, I think this is something that's worth keeping a close eye on, because I don't want this to come up at post,
No, and
warranty
yeah, substantial
period.
completion, yep. And we had, Mike Trank was over there the other day with Sherbon and the electrician going over all that.
Okay.
So that's why I want to make
Good.
sure it's all hammered out before.
Yeah. And you'll keep us advised?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, any questions for staff on the Elm Street Pump Station improvements update? Thank you. The next is Albert Street sewer update. Corey?
Mike had said that he got the plans back from the drafter, and he's reviewing, and that should be good to go within a week or so to start putting it out.
We're good?
Yep.
Put an RFP out?
Mhm.
And what is our budget for that project? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think it's around, I think it was 560,000.
Okay, I was just curious.
That was on, it's a shorter stretch, so it's a little less than the other ones.
Okay. And is our engineer's estimate, did they add,
He's got to send all that to me. He hasn't actually sent me his estimate yet.
because we may have to appropriate additional funds if we come short for the bid for our appropriation.
Yeah, he said he pretty much had all that ready to go, and he was just reviewing, and he's going to send everything to me.
Great, thank you. Questions for Corey from staff, from our commissioners? Okay, the next one is East Union and Riverview Park update.
He said those plans are complete, everything's ready to go, and he's reached out to some contractors, so that will be, he's ready to put that out.
Are we doing that as a package, do you know?
I'm pretty sure it's a package.
Okay, so it'll be one contract for both pump
Yep,
stations?
and Joe Witz from Sherbon actually walked around. He actually came over to Riverview the other day to look at the electrical to see if it was worth trying to save any of the conduit and all that stuff. That's all attached to the walls, and he said it's not. By the time you try to pull it off, it's already brittle.
I was under the impression that we were only going to lean it in to change the hut, and then we would decide, based on opinions, professional opinions, whether we need to replace the panel, different elements in there, and that's another number over and above, right?
Well, Joe actually came up with a good idea for Mike when speccing out to Shea to make sure the lights, the heater, everything is already wired,
Attached.
it's already attached, and then all they have to do is repurpose.
Does Shea do that as part of their product?
They should, yeah.
When I worked for American Concrete, we did it for
Good.
precast buildings, so I
Okay.
expect.
Well, we'll have to check with Shea to make sure they have staff electricians that could attach all that equipment and leave the wire dangling to be connected. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like a modular house comes.
yeah,
Same
basically,
idea.
like Joe Witz had said, basically when you pull the hut off, half of the stuff that's in that building, it's gonna be down anyways, the pump controls, everything will stay up and running. But when pulling all the other stuff off, you're not gonna reuse half of that when a building comes pre-wired with the lights, the heater. It's all gonna be, all the conduit that you're leaning in is gonna be rerouted, because it's gonna be all different.
And as I recall, I thought we talked about the heater being either inefficient or needing to be replaced in that pump station at prior conversation.
Yes.
Questions, gentlemen? I'm happy to hear stuff is moving forward. Good, good. Okay. The next is outdoor seating. Dave has been working on a chart here. He's going to explain, so I'll turn the floor over to Dave.
You're going to have to bear with me as I try to describe a very complicated set of mathematics here. My one-page display, it shows 5 dining facilities which they're basically inside seating, but they also have outside seating associated. And I'm going to start at the very small heading at the top, at the box. When the existing facility had treatment units calculated, they would have used 40 gallons per day per inside seating and 20 gallons per day for every employee. So at some point in history, treatment units were calculated for that facility, and historically they are whatever they are. When you go into outside seating, you have, once again, 40 gallons per day if it's regular plate service, which I'm using that word regular to imply dishes. You also have a rate for paper plate service, and I assume paper plate could also mean plastic.
Yeah, plastic tray.
Utility.
Disposable type of,
Disposable.
or
Yeah,
recyclable.
Mhm.
And there the rate is 20 gallons per seat.
Mhm.
I'm also discounting it, there's no rate per employee, because I'm assuming these business owners would not be increasing their staff just for 3 months of operation. They would
Fair.
try to limp by as best they could if they had an extra demand for the outside seating.
And in this market, if they could get extra help.
Just right, just for 3 months, no. Now, in each one of these 5 dining facilities, I've got a left column and a right column. So let me focus on that left column. This is the concept where you calculate your treatment units for the whole year. And so for the first pizza facility, they have 2 tables outside, 4 seats at each table, so that's outside seating of 8 seats. Paper service was 20 gallons per day. So you can see that my math is 20 times 8, divide by 450, and then divide by 4, which is represented, this is for 1/4 of the year that they're doing this. So the treatment units are 900ths of a treatment unit, and by convention, we round that up or down to a half unit. Well, in my case, I'm rounding it down to 0.
Why would you round down when you're so close to a full treatment unit?
No, you,
.09.
Point-
.9.
anything about .25, I'd round up to a half.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm looking at, I forgot to look at the other zero.
So if you look at just what is the impact of a treatment unit for 1/4 of the year, well, it rounds down to 0, as they all do in the whole column.
Now, we did agree that 3 months was our term we were looking at? Only
By
3?
convention, that was basically
Yeah.
a suitable period people would be seating outside.
We originally said 3 months, we said
I mean,
July, August, September,
Well, in my opinion, they seat a lot sooner than July.
okay,
or
so
June, July, August.
Just for future discussion. I don't want to mess up your discussion.
Or maybe we
No.
did June, July, and August. That's what we did, June, July, and August, because we said that. 'Cause we
We'll talk
did-
about it later.
We did 3 months.
Let Dave finish his presentation.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt
So-
Dave.
if you wanted it for a 4-month.
We can change that, we can change that
But no, I'm
one
just
division.
saying, it's
Yeah.
simple math.
Right.
It would take me 1 minute to update the sheet.
Okay.
The right column is that, taking the very first pizza facility, for example, once again, 8 seats times 20 gallons per day, divide by 450. But at this point, I'm just calculating the impact for the whole year. If those seats were occupied the whole year, it would be 3/600ths of a treatment unit.
Okay.
Then you, by convention, you take the nearest 1/2 unit, which rounds up to a half. At that point, you divide, well, half of a unit is $200 a year. At that point, you divide the $200 a year by 4, and you're down to $50. So the question is, at what point do you divide by 4 to get 3 months of the year? Do you apply it to the concept you calculate treatment units for the whole year? Or do you assume that those outside seats are going to be occupied all year long, you have a bill, and then you divide the bill by 4? Well, in the right-hand column, if you would entertain that concept of dividing the bill by 4, you see my 5 examples. The November bill would be $50 more, $50 more, 100, 100, and 50.
Are these just representative of the list, or is this the entire list, Dave?
This is an entire list of outside seating.
5 places.
Dining
That act-
facilities which we know have some extent of outside seating.
So are you making any kind of a recommendation based on your research here?
Yes.
Okay, I'm listening.
If you adopt the left-hand column where you calculate treatment units, the impact of a treatment unit, it has 0 impact on the annual bill, therefore there's no additional charge for whatever outside seating that facility may have. If you adopt the right-hand side, well, potentially our commission could bring in another $350 a year.
And that sounds like something rather insignificant based on our budget.
Thank you for bringing it up, because I would have used those same words too. And this is all, of course, this would mean that if you adopt that right-hand column, we'd have to send out a letter. That I have a draft of such a letter on the next page. But to me, it's opening up a can of worms,
I think it's bad.
going after a small amount of money.
I would describe it as, we would be viewed as business unfriendly. That would be the first thing we'd be accused of. We're trying to
So
make money and you're trying to hurt us.
I've tried my best to present the mathematics
I think you've done a great job because it makes it very
We're
clear.
going after such an insignificant amount of money, we shouldn't bother the business unit.
However, if things change and we increase our rates and it becomes more significant, we could revisit it at a later date,
Sure.
possibly?
And in a previous commission meeting, I mentioned that I would have liked if there was a planning board decision on an eating establishment. If the plans presented to the planning board said, yes, I have 100 seats inside and I'm capable of holding an outside event center with 200 seats under a huge tent, if that was part of a planning board review, the planning board would also justify that facility have enough vehicle parking space for outside and inside. So if the outside seatings were documented in a planning board review, I feel much more comfortable billing them for sort.
And Corey would attend the TRC, so he would be able to report to us that, hey, we're looking at another 200 seats on our sewer system being added at a planning, so he could represent us there
Yep.
and advise us if we want to take any action as a result.
That would be a situation where I feel comfortable billing for outside seats because it's
So-
part of a planning board review.
So then I would say, Dave, that with that in mind, I think we should adopt a line in our sewer use ordinance that would permit us, if it isn't already there, or was that just in our sewer use ordinance for use at that point
Our
already?
ordinance just says seating.
Seating, yep.
And it goes to the extent that if your seating is paper plate service, that it's 20 gallons per day.
So am I being overcautious, thinking that we should have some statement in our sewer use ordinance that permits us to look at that type of use, even though it's seasonal, outdoor, but it meets a threshold where it's going to affect the sewer system?
I think you're covered under it specifying seats.
Could you look at it sometime when you have 20
Could-
minutes to sit down at your desk and just sort of look
Could
at
there
it?
be some wiggle room in the idea that if your customer load for outside seating is less than 15% of your inside seating,
You could create a threshold if you
it'd be a threshold where we would not be looking over your shoulder.
provided their inside seating is not 400. because then it would be significant.
Yeah, but
Yes.
none of them are.
Not at this time. We haven't had a big center built, but there's a lot of, there's still property, you know? Actually, there was talk at planning for a large restaurant facility on one of the pads down behind the Shell station.
A convention type center.
Yeah, yeah. Or something that does weddings or, you know, outdoor functions. So, thank you for that report, Dave. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Jamie? at this time?
No, no.
Corey?
So,
No? So I'd like to make a motion that we not pursue outdoor seating charges at this time, but we reserve the right to review it at a later date.
thank you, I'll second.
Made second, motion's been made and seconded. Any
Right.
discussion,
Okay.
any discussion on the motion?
No, just, Lynn, preserve this handout in your minutes.
Okay.
So
Yes, thank you.
5 years from now, when we're not here, somebody else might benefit.
Will do.
Okay, so we get a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Next item under old business is sewer foreman job description. Lynn asked us to bring our documents with us for this discussion. And Corey, you did a revised job description. Did we ever get it from you, a copy of it?
Yeah,
Yes.
it actually went with your original packet that Danielle handed
Is
out.
it this one here that I have? It says February 21. Oh, it's in our, no, this is my stuff.
Yeah, no. Or is that, okay, no,
I think I have the same one as you.
right. And then.
No, yours says March,
Wait for it.
wait, yours says
Revised.
March.
Sewer quarter revised.
February of 2021?
Yeah, the date's probably wrong because I didn't erase it off the original
So-
document.
Yes, in my packet I prepared, originally Corey was a highway
Yep.
utility supervisor.
Yep.
He did his best to take out of that job description
So this is
a
the right
facility
one.
for him.
This is the right one.
And at some point later, he revised it.
I just didn't write revised on the top.
Well, no,
No,
he distributed
Oh,
it.
So I didn't get it. Or I did and I lost it. It's not in here because I went through this whole thing the other day.
In my prepared remarks, I found it acceptable. The one that Corey wrote that said revised in the upper right corner, I was happy with what was written. But then in my handout, I explained I have 8 other things that potentially could be added as essential functions.
You provided everyone at the table with a handout, Dave?
Yes.
For your
looks
thoughts?
like-
I got it.
You probably.
So, let's start with the top line, the word sewer foreman. Dave, let's have your opinion on the sewer foreman.
Technically, a foreman is a guy who gets his hands dirty with the rest of the team. He leads the team and he's involved with the work. A supervisor is one that makes sure that the team is efficient in what they're doing. But the supervisor doesn't necessarily get down into the trenches with the team. So I like the word foreman.
And I don't like the word foreman because under our operational rules, I guess, unwritten operational rules, we as the commissioners are responsible for the administrative portion of the sewer department. And whoever is the town employee is responsible for the entire sewer department and its operation. So superintendent or supervisor is more, I think, in line, because we, as commissioners, don't and are not supposed to actually be out in the field telling them what to do or involving ourselves in any of their operations. We're free to stop in and visit and ask questions and do what we do. But I don't feel that I should be giving Corey instructions regarding how to do his job or how to handle his assistant. So therefore, I think as a foreman, that implies that there's someone above him that is in charge, where I don't believe that to be the fact. I believe as commissioners, we are administrative, not hands-on. So I think that superintendent is a more appropriate title based on the work that Corey does as the head man in the sewer department. Daniel?
Yeah, I see your point. And I'm more familiar with the supervisor title in a position like Corey's, looking at other towns and cities and another town I lived in. The only thing, most of the towns and cities also have a wastewater treatment plant in addition to their collection system under their control, so.
When I read the top one on our list of handouts that was provided was City of Manchester's class title Assistant Sewer and Drain Superintendent. Principal function of an employee in this class is to oversee all sewer and drain maintenance activities. The work is performed under the supervision and direction of the sewer and drain superintendent.
Okay.
So Corey does not have a boss above him. We don't have the highway department involvement any longer. We are not technically his bosses. He works for the sewer department and we hired him, but we don't treat him like we're the boss. So I would say superintendent, just based on the first couple of lines of the City of Manchester's description of the assistant sewer and drain superintendent. So I would transpose to the sewer and drain superintendent would be the one who oversees everyone else.
Ours would be without drain, because that
Right.
applies wastewater.
Well, actually,
Storm.
they have superintendent roles for their wastewater and their sewer and drain.
I went through all these.
Manchester has a combined
Right,
sewer system.
right.
They have a combined sewer system which they're taking apart, and the highway department is responsible for the drainage system in the City of Manchester technically, because the sewer department does not handle the storm drain system in the city. So when I went through all these titles, this is what I thought would be an appropriate title for Corey. Here's a solid waste superintendent in Manchester. Principal function of an employee in this class is to provide administrative oversight to all solid waste division activities. That's what Corey does. So I believe if you were to look at his position, I think superintendent is the appropriate word for the position. That doesn't mean we don't keep assistant foreman temporarily for the other position, for Keith's position. We could revise his title at a later date, but at this time, he's not going to be the assistant superintendent. He's going to be the assistant sewer foreman. We don't have a foreman yet. Maybe someday we'll get big enough to have a foreman and a superintendent and an assistant. We'll see how it goes in that. So, are you willing to revise your opinion, Dave, or are you going to hang on and it'll be a vote is all it's going to come down to. And I just don't want to do anything that you know.
I
Work hard at this.
I have no problem with the superintendent.
All right. So,
I think I was just trying to keep it a lower level of a noun. But
all right, so at this point, does the commissioners concur that we will title the position sewer superintendent? Yes?
I would support that.
Okay, so
Just
at the-
based on, I mean, the industry, it's industry standard in the region, in my experience.
all right. So, Dave, you have a second thing you'd like to bring up? I'll let you move on with your note here.
Well, my second decision is that I feel we should adopt the description of the superintendent that was written with the word revised in the upper right corner,
That is under essential functions?
and that there's, I don't know, 18 or so bullets of essential functions
Okay.
on that sheet. I would like to add 8, or we could have a discussion right now whether they're pertinent, whether Corey feels they're pertinent to his
Well,
daily
why don't you
functions.
do the first one and we'll talk about them individually.
Develop an annual update to a physically balanced capital improvement plan. So that's
Well,
CIP
that's part
program.
of your budget
Yep.
presentation.
well, I think you do, we have
do
been
that.
doing that
But
based
it-
on our,
Yeah, most
Well-
everything he has here is what I do anyways.
Well, let's-
It's just not written in here.
so would you have a problem if it's written?
Nope. I'll add it in here and,
So let's just discuss them so we all know what's going on.
Yep. Number 2 is to provide a contact list to the police department, keep it up to date, and of course, changing the titles that I wrote, so
Yep.
that they would know who to call, and if that person's not there, who to call next.
Okay, 3?
3 is be proficient with all the functionalities of the town's SOAR GIS application. With the ability, I assume you input new data?
I either hand it off to Public Works, to Eric Gustafson, so he can, I don't have access to the file. I have access to the files, I cannot actually change them physically. He has to do it.
So that you can perform that function by working through Public
So
Works.
Exactly.
The ability to change it is you are able to provide the correct information that he knows to do the
Exactly.
key punching.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't, you can look, whatever the correct name of that application is.
Yeah. Master utility files.
Master utility file. Number 4 was coordinate with professional consultants that are under contract from this commission for utility installations and replacement projects.
He does that already.
But it wasn't spelled out, right?
That's true.
Correct.
You are a key figure in coordinating with our consultant. 5, annually update the CMOM,
Mhm.
Correct.
and you submit that to DES, is it?
Correct.
Number 6 was develop and implement an annual plan for vacuum pipelines and basins. 7 was implement an annual plan for video services. 8 was maintain the archives of video files. They're retrievable in some logical fashion.
The only word I'd like to change, Dave, on number 6 is not, basins is not what we have sewer manholes.
Thank you.
Basins are drain structures, just for the technical use of the term.
Thank you.
Corey, do you still review new septic system applications like Mike used to do?
Leach fields?
Yeah.
No.
Who does them?
The town engineer does.
Okay, so that's one I don't need. And I'd like to add you're responsible for payroll submission to the finance department because that's not on your list of duties, and I know that is a requirement that you have to do. Do you have anything yet? So we have 9 new ones, payroll submission to finance department.
Finance department.
And did you work out with finance a system for calling in when you are sick, when you have sick days?
Yep.
Calling in to the sewer secretary?
No, they
No, they
leave
have
a
a
line,
hotline.
a call-out line we
Oh, they have a
use.
call-out line?
Yeah.
Did you tell Keith about that so he knows as well? Just so-
Technically, Keith would call me.
Okay,
I would have to
call in
turn.
for him.
He could call, he could do the call-in
If
line.
he wants to
too.
do the call
Why
line.
don't we wait till you're off probation, because that way there won't be any lines crossed at this point. And after you complete your probation, then you can instruct him on how to handle it, and he can call it in.
Okay.
And Lynn, you turned in your time card to the assistant town administrator.
Mhm.
And the other thing too is vacation schedules. We have to know when the vacations are gonna be. So who do you file a vacation schedule with? Do you have time, requests for time off slips through, did they have them at the highway department?
They have them at the highway department.
All right, well then we don't need to do that particularly, but you'll just have to make sure that any scheduled vacations are scheduled through Lynn, so Lynn documents them and when you're not gonna be here, or do you do that through finance? What's the procedure for that?
I just do it through finance.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
But Lynn
what
needs
I
to know,
do.
though.
Yes.
Yeah, Lynn knows, we've always communicated if I'm not gonna be around.
Okay.
She knows in advance.
Okay, good.
And if he tells finance, they're supposed to put it on a calendar, and I should see it too.
Next steps.
So we've completed essential functions to everyone's satisfaction? Okay, we'll take a vote here on the, adding the 8 items into the written,
And then plus your 9.
plus the 9. So everyone concur that we're gonna add those 9? Yes, 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 okay. So we all concur then.
Do we want to vote on that now, or do we want
We're gonna
him-
vote on the whole thing at the end.
I was just gonna say, maybe we should have him add it to his job description and come back to the next meeting, and then we'll vote on the job
On the
description.
completed-
Yeah, except the final,
Okay,
no.
Okay.
No, you do what you want.
I was gonna say,
handle administratively.
you type
I can
it
type
up
it too,
as
yeah.
per the comments we've just provided to you, and submit it to the assistant town administrator.
Well, do we have any other changes, Dave, on the rest of the pages of this? No other changes?
No, I mean,
Can you send me that again?
I'll just type it up and send it to you and you can proofread it
education
send
and
it.
training,
Do that too.
It's just easier because I have it right in the Word
the
document.
collection system is still grade 2 certification.
We don't, under supervision, we don't have it supervising the assistant. We have the scope, does that include employees? Then we have received and then supervision given. So I think supervision given, assistant sewer foreman, that's the
Yes,
last
right
line,
there.
I apologize,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get that. Okay,
So I feel that Lynn can type up this sheet that, has revised at the top. She can add in our 9 essential functions, and she can hand that off to the assistant town administrator for whatever review she wants to do.
And then bring it back to the next meeting and vote. on
we
the
do have to
final.
vote on it, a completed
But
document.
does
Can we do that next week?
Sarah, does she want this while this contractor is still?
I think they're already in the middle of that, but if we do, we can do this in
We got one
no
more.
day, I mean,
I
it
thought
won't
she
take
wanted
long.
a vote prior to this review of all.
Well, then let's have a vote on it, a vote pending final,
Okay.
final viewing of the document. All right, Dave, you want to make a motion?
Yep. So on the table before us, we have a sewer supervisor position with the word revised at the top. Our secretary will retype all of those with the title superintendent and add 9 essential functions which we discussed. And that's my motion for position description.
How about motion to accept,
The revised with changes.
the revised?
Revised with 9 additional.
Revised.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Revised job description with 9 additional bullet points under essential functions.
That's my motion.
With 9, and job, and job title
Job
change.
title. Yes.
Pending review by Danielle, or?
Well, she's
Motion
not going
to-
to review it, she's just going to get it. She doesn't, we're not doing anything that she has to approve of.
Okay.
Motion to accept the preliminary,
No,
That's-
motion to approve.
to accept,
Approve, not accept.
that's what I meant, to approve the preliminary revised sewer job descriptions with the 9 additional bullet items
And the new job title.
and the new job title. Okay. Who made that motion?
Dave did.
Dave did.
And Daniel seconded it. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, the last thing we have here tonight is I received an email a little while ago that I never really did much with, unfortunately, but Position Vantage Point, which is the company that I guess they hired to do this survey,
Oh,
Of
okay.
town position.
sent me a long document that they wanted filled out and turned back in. Do we want to fill this out tonight as a commission? And then,
I received that, and I sent email to town administrator saying, am I expected to fill this out as commissioner, or was this a survey that you provided to the employees?
Yeah, that
It's
was for the
both.
employees.
I think what they said they were doing is, like in a typical department, the employee fills it out, and then you guys would fill it out, and then Danielle fills it out, and they compare them all and see.
Concluding my thoughts, I specifically asked her, did you
I already-
provide
I
me this
filled that out.
survey?
you filled this out.
Did you provide me this survey just as a courtesy because you're asking my employees to fill it out?
Did she
And
answer
and I'm
you?
just getting it as a courtesy copy. Do you really want me to fill it out? She said, no, you got it as a courtesy copy.
so we don't have to fill this out and turn it in?
That's my belief.
I'll double check with her on that.
Yeah, as far as I know, it was just for employees.
All right, well,
Yeah, I got the email, and I thought I received it just because it was on like a townwide email
Mhm.
list.
I'll
She-
double check, because
she
the way it
was-
was
well, here's
explained
the
in the
letter.
meeting
Here's
that
the
guy
letter
had
came with it.
was, our supervisors were gonna fill it
Town
out, and he was gonna
employees.
compare them.
I asked her, are we getting this survey because
I heard you
you
say, yeah.
want us to know what our employees are filling
Well,
out?
she told me that, then go with that.
I'm not gonna worry about it
Don't
anymore.
worry about it.
We did our due diligence.
She
All
must be
right,
doing it.
Corey, do you have anything for this evening that is not in the agenda? Did you receive the lawnmower and trailer and everything that we authorized purchase?
We have
of?
the lawnmower, we do not have the trailer. Trailer is more difficult to acquire than
Because?
trying to find one that,
Is appropriate?
yeah. So, in looking at lots of options, not really being able to leave town and scout out some other places.
It's not critical, but it's something we did
Oh.
approve.
Yep.
And if we're gonna do the lawn mowing at other facilities, we need the trailer, right?
Yeah, I've been borrowing Lee's trailer.
Okay. So would you like to continue in your present movement to find something that you like and we
Yeah.
can purchase and go from there?
Yes,
You still gonna go with the double axle trailer?
yes.
That gives us other uses for it.
I have one item.
Go ahead, Dave.
I asked a college that's in Bernardville, they're proposing a major building to be demolished and a bigger one built. So I asked Corey about how our St. Anselm's treatment unit calculated, because one building's being torn down, and therefore we subtract off the treatment units that might have been associated with that building, and we add in treatment units for whatever the new structure is. Corey said it's not done that way, that we provide a flat rate for the campus. Well, that flat rate was established by a 1990 agreement,
Which expired in?
which expired in 10 years.
Yeah. 2000.
That agreement essentially said, dear college, you can build as many buildings as you want in the next 10 years. We're just going to charge you a flat rate, which works out to be $110,000 per year.
Okay,
Well, that agreement expired
23 years ago.
23 years ago. And if
It's a good catch, Dave, thank you.
And if our treatment units are calculated 100 gallons per, this is for a boarding school, which that college is, 100 gallons per day per student, 100 gallons per day per employee. Those numbers are publicly available on the college's website, and doing the math, it would, was essentially double the treatment units that we would charge the campus.
Well, I think we would be well within our rights to invite a representative of the college to come to a sewer commissioners meeting, at which time we would present our evidence to them, and they can leave here with the evidence, and they can either dispute it, or they can agree to an increase in their sewer use charges based on existing conditions at the site. And because the 10-year agreement expired, there is no agreement. Therefore, any changes at the campus are reviewed by us, and appropriate charges will be assessed. So, at this point, Lynn, I would like you to reach out to St. Anselm's College, and I don't know if they have someone who's a utility supervisor or something. Corey, do you have any knowledge of that? I mean, I don't want to reach out to the
Start-
college dean.
Start with Joanne Duffy, please, and have her determine that person.
There's a guy over there, Paul, I've always dealt with him, with anything to do with the sewer
Yeah, but he
system.
wouldn't have administrative
Yeah, I don't think he's
decision-making. They're
administrative.
probably going to want to send their
I'll talk to
an
Joanne.
engineer or a lawyer over here.
And the college owns 20 parcels. 8 of those parcels have treatment units associated with them. And this action is only for that one unit that currently is billed at 275 treatment units.
Because I know there are other parcels that we do
The other
charge.
parcels are 111.
What is the information, how current is that information?
They're
it's
like
current.
apartments and stuff there.
I took it off the current database.
I only ask because they have a lot of, they own every house on
Yeah,
St.
that's
Anselm
that's what
Drive.
he's showing you.
That's what I'm showing you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I looked up, these are all the properties they own.
And are they presently
And then I-
being billed for something?
No, and these are the ones that are being built, these 8, out of all those parcels, these are the
Well,
ones.
Are
that
all
are-
these parcels on the town sewer system?
No,
Not
these
all
are
of
the
them.
ones they own,
I understand that, but how
It-
many of them are on sewer?
8.
8 of them, okay.
So everything that's on sewer is being built.
The others are vacant. They're
Vacant
unbuilt
property,
parcels.
Oh, they're vacant parcels.
Yes.
I thought they owned like 20 or 30 houses down St. Anselm Drive.
Every time one comes up, they snatch it up.
And you researched that through our assessing?
Well, Lynn has my list, and she can verify,
Mhm.
well, you, I think I asked you this before, verify with Scott Bartlett.
I wasn't sure where that stood when you left, so,
Well,
okay, I will.
Scott said you had access to the town's vision
yeah.
database of property,
Mhm.
and you can do a query as to who the owners are.
I can do each one separately,
And-
individually, and check,
And
yes.
if you do that query, and it pops up with these 20 addresses, then this is a good list.
Or we could
Well, I
ask St.
can't do
Names
a
representative
query.
to tell us how many houses they own on,
Well,
I say,
outside
he
the
was
campus.
wrong when he said that, and he said that after, I can't do a query, I can look individually and see
Well-
if there was, but he will have to do that.
I attempted to ask Scott, could you do a query as to how many physical properties are owned by St. A's? And he shoved the task off to Lynn.
Okay, well, we can also ask the St. A's representative to come in with a current list of all their properties and all their buildings and their staff and their citizens and their students.
He did send me something, but I wasn't sure where we stood on that, because things were kind of, when you left, so I'll look at what he sent, and I'll see if I can get something for you.
All right, well, when you contact Joanne, whoever your point person's gonna be, coordinate with Corey on talking to someone about coming to a meeting, because Corey can explain the dynamics of it to the St. A's representative,
Okay.
and he'll explain to them what we're looking for in terms of what is your current use? What are you using in relation to the sewer system? And we have our own, make sure he knows we have our own data, so we'll be looking to verify our data or something to that effect.
Yep.
And then we can have a discussion with them initially, and then they can refute our and Dave's information, or they can agree to be reassessed for current charges. Simple.
So back in 1990, we calculated that they had 300 treatment units,
The agreement specified the number 300,
but we only charged them for 275.
and I'm suspecting that if you multiply 300 times some annual fee that was 30 years ago, it added up to 110 per year. And if during this 10-year period our rates changed, but we held firm to the number that was being charged, so that number 300 was reduced down to 275. And so 275 is in the billing system.
You know, we'll get it all together. The other thing too, Corey, is if this new building is going to result in a net increase, they're going to be asked to pay accessibility fees as well. If the building is going to be larger and they're going to have a larger capacity of people in it, then they are going to be asked to pay accessibility fees as well.
One, could they argue that they're already grandfathered with some amount of,
Students.
Be
Student
grandfathered
count.
for what? For what they have now?
Yeah, because their student count
So
has to
if
stay
Te-
under.
okay, technically, they're grandfathered for 275 treatment units. But the key feature is that.
Where is the grandfathering if for 275?
Well, that's what they're currently being billed for, so by default,
They're getting billed for 275 by default. They are not
Mhm.
grandfathered to anything.
No,
Grandfathered is
that
not
went
an
away
appropriate term.
after the 10 years. 'Cause it's-
Grandfather is a word you use when someone never has to pay again because they've got an old deal in place that
And
can't be
I
changed.
think it says in the document that they couldn't be reassessed within that 10 years.
Right.
Right. So the document said within that 10 years, you can charge us up to 300 units, and we only charged them for 275. And we've just kept it even after it expired.
Yeah, 23 years after.
that could be how it worked out.
Okay, good, well, that's good, that's a good catch. I'm glad that we're gonna move forward on fair share.
And so, how have treatment units changed over the decades?
You know, since 2010, I don't know.
In my handout, that is the New Hampshire design chart for boarding students.
Well, as long as that hasn't changed, we're gonna have to make sure the new boarding students is the same chart as when they were here, because that is also out the window.
Yeah, the new,
They have to go by the new charts, whatever the new charts may be.
yes, and it's,
But that is the current chart.
Oh, it is.
Yes, those numbers are from the current chart.
That's your chart. This is your information.
I typed it, but the numbers are from the
Yes.
New Hampshire chart.
What I'm asking you is, when they were billed for the 275 treatment units, was that a lower number back in 1999? We don't know. If the
Yeah,
New
we don't
Hampshire-
know.
Said DES may have updated their charts since then.
Mhm.
So we're
most
gonna have,
likely I would say it's changed.
I'm not sure
And
if
so,
you,
and that would be available from DES. If you ask them, what was your chart in 1999, they can give you that information. And if it's half of what it is now, this is the real deal.
and so a bigger question is, what about other customers?
Well, we don't have a,
a campus.
I know,
you mean,
they're our biggest customer, but have the way we calculate treatment units changed significantly over time?
It's always been,
It's
it's always been the same way.
always been referenced to the New Hampshire chart.
And has New Hampshire changed? I mean,
Well,
The charts have-
Corey can ask DES, do you have the
If they have the
historical
record. Yeah.
records from 30 years ago to know what the equivalents were 20, 30
now
years ago?
that might be a case for grandfathering, because they were brought in at a rate at the time, unless we have some authority to change their rate based on the new chart. But when you're talking about a deal that expired, that's another situation, because we never made a deal with any residents.
Yeah.
But it
So-
doesn't seem right to change their rate and not the
Not the
others.
rest. I think if if they had a deal for 10 years,
Yeah.
and it was based on an old chart, and that chart has changed, that deal is expired. Now,
If a resident adds a bedroom to his home, we increase.
but if the same resident started in 1975, and the treatment unit chart was different than it is now, we don't have any authority to change it. We'd have to write that into our sewer use ordinance. We can't just randomly change the rates, I don't believe. We can up them for good cause, but we can't just throw a rate change at them because a new chart came.
Right,
All right, any more questions on this subject? Corey's gonna do a little research and get back to us with his 135 things he's gotta do. Lynn, you gave us a budget sheet
yeah,
tonight.
I didn't put it on the agenda, but I put one in place, and I thought you could take it home and kind of look at it, if you wanted to come up with your preliminary
Is it-
budgets, or if you have any questions.
Is this current to what month?
This is through July.
This is current through
Yeah.
July.
Yep. And if you have any questions before, and I'll bring it again to our next meeting, updated through August, and if you want to look at it then and put budget numbers in.
So there's my answer right there on line 33261. Albert Street project was originally budgeted at $216,000.
So
We
it's
haven't had
doubled.
any charges, I haven't, at this year at all. That's right,
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Albert Street.
This is
Or-
the budget, this is the budget to do the sewer work. That sounds
Oh,
really
yeah,
low.
yeah.
That sounds really low. Okay. Do you know what was in your CIP submission?
Yeah, it was around 500,000.
Okay, so there's something out of line here.
For 2023.
Yes.
Well, we didn't up it by 300,000 from 22 to 23. No, I think that number was
What are
already
you,
plugged in.
what are you looking at?
The yellow line that's identified.
Yeah,
I don't understand the 22 original.
this
budget.
was last year's when we did the budget, that note was from last year.
Well, why
The
is it-
22 original budget was 216,000, and then when we did 23, we changed it to 507,389.
Okay, good.
So it's an outdated comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, these comments are all left from last year, so that you could see where last year's budget numbers came from. I haven't changed the comments.
All right. And if somebody else wants to go, fine, but I generally go to budget with Lynn. So if anybody wants to jump on it, Dave, you do a lot already. Daniel, if you want to do it, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I will go back to budget with Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I will go back to budget with Lynn. All right, any other items for discussion tonight?
Yes.
We should ask Keith, how you doing in your first couple weeks on the job?
Very good.
You're not ready to quit or anything?
Absolutely not.
Good, I'm glad you're sticking around.
Yep, I'm in it for the long haul.
Good man.
Okay, so
What do we got?
this right here, when we had our meeting back in
Yeah,
March.
I remember.
This is a list that you had asked Danielle to provide a list to us, and this is the list. Just need you to review the list, and then I need someone to make, Dave, since you're right here, you can make that motion if you can read it.
So what is tell us what we're doing. We're
So
making.
this is the list of recurring invoices that come in, and instead of my paying them every month when they come in, finance is paying them, because they're ones like the consolidated, that's handled by Brian, Verizon. These are, or DigSafe, most of it is, it's one invoice, and they break it up and have me just pay like 250 of it, so they have to make copies of it. Or the uniforms, Kara had to make a report for me. It was a lot more work.
So are these items that we're not going to see in your report
Correct.
monthly?
But
When you
yes.
ask us to sign a sewer warrant?
Correctly,
We're
yeah,
just
correct.
authorizing
You're
for these
on.
to be paid without us putting them on a sewer warrant?
Correct.
Well, that's where I was trying to get
Sorry.
to. Okay. Anybody have any problems with these items, Primex? We all know what they all are. They're all standard things that we do that we don't really need to see. Anybody have any problems with not seeing these on the warrant? Okay, I don't either. So you need a motion?
Yeah, I wrote it
Yes.
down for him.
Make a motion to approve the list of recurring invoices provided to us tonight by finance.
That's just,
Okay. Motion to approve the list of recurring services provided by finance as discussed at this March sort of meeting.
Motion made by Dave, seconded by Tim. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Did they hear you vote?
This was the first one.
This is my next one I'm gonna bring up now.
Go ahead.
And I also have a sewer warrant here. There was one property that somehow when we did the bills, it was not included in the bills, so I have to do an additional bill for her. The next time we do the bill run, I'm going to compare the two and make sure that I don't see anything. We don't know why that fell off. Danielle and I are gonna look and try to figure out why it fell off, and we're gonna try to compare it better for the next billing to make sure that we can catch something like that.
Well, at least you caught it then.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened, so we're gonna research that a little bit more and try to figure it out. So I need a motion to sign, approve, to accept or approve and sign, or accept
Where
and sign.
do we
that's
say
okay.
the parcel number?
I didn't put the parcel number on it
Why
because
not?
it's just the sewer warrant. Danielle told me to just copy the same motion that we made for the original warrant.
I
We'll put the
don't think
dollar
that's, I think
amount.
Dave's right. I don't think it's right. I think we have to have the map and lot number or something to that effect.
I can add the map and lot number.
I would like.
I don't know what it
that's
is right
always-
now, but I can add it to
typically
the
that's public
motion.
information.
Okay.
Well, we can't.
It's a timber wood,
We can't make a motion without the map and lot number and have it added in later. We can't do that. So
I can
it's not gonna
find
get
out.
done this month.
Unless you're able to retrieve it in the next 5 minutes.
I can run upstairs real quick and retrieve it.
Okay, do that. Take your note with you and write it on it, please. It's the legality of the
Yeah,
motion,
no,
Linda.
I get it.
You can't do it illegally.
That's what the selectman does with every property that's impacted by some rate fee.
They make sure they have map and lot. Of course it is, it's part of the requirement.
I had something else to add.
Go ahead. Lynn.
The one.
Oh, wait, a
for-
minute, Lynn can't write it down. She's not here.
uh,
She takes minutes, she can't do it without the minutes.
This is,
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah. Hmm?
Sorry, this was something Danielle brought up like 5 minutes before I came down here.
Well, then she should wait then.
So it is 9 Foxtail Lane, apartment 5, map and lot.
Well, let him get the address first, because the map and lot is for the whole condo project, it's not for
Don't
the,
write on that.
put it on her motion. It's the, what is the address, Lynn?
9 Foxtail Lane,
Mhm.
unit 5,
And the map and lot number for the project?
3-65J-5.
Thank you for that. Now Dave can make his motion.
Motion to approve a sewer tax warrant related to 9 Foxtail Lane, Unit 5, map lot number 3-65J-5, in the amount of $200.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Okay.
Is that anything?
Daniel has something else that's under,
134 Mast Road, development by Michelle.
yep.
Dave, had a question. about the connection between the slabs. Oh, so they,
Who's they?
the developer, or the.
Mr. Monty.
And who did he contact?
The project engineer
From Dubay Group?
emailed, Lynn forwarded us the,
I didn't see that, sorry. I don't read my email every minute.
Lynn, it was like a beginning of last month, but,
No, I read my email, I didn't see that. 'Cause I read them all the other day. So go ahead.
they were gonna go back to the precast slabs, or after we,
Well, they're not gonna get in the pool without a
Right.
precast slab, so that's a redundant point.
and they, sent Lynn the revised, plans.
Okay?
That came the day after our special meeting.
Oh, see,
So that was an old
I'm gonna
email.
go dig now, if I can find that.
And then, Dave was wondering about the connection between the slabs.
Who is Dave, the engineer?
No.
Oh, Dave Pierce.
Oh, yeah, at the commission meeting, I believe I asked the project engineer, how are the slabs horizontally
Connected.
connected to each other?
And what he sent you?
Is there, like, are they bolted?
Right, and on the plan, the plans just have a note, slabs to be bolted together with stainless steel plates and hardware. And you were concerned about the hardware being above the slab,
Yeah,
which is legit.
yes, was the hardware standing proud of the surface of the slab? I can't imagine they were, but
And then,
sanity check on
and this was, and it,
it. So what was
this
their
is gonna be
response?
for Mike, but Mike said that typically road slabs use a dowel system like that, and where one slab will have the dowel cast into it, and then the other slab will have a pocket that gets grouted in.
I'm happy.
There's also other fastening methodology which
Right.
they use on box culverts, which is a buried bolt, right there.
Um, So my question was gonna be for Mike, this is not what they detailed,
Is
and I would like to see it, or at least send to Corey, how their connection is detailed between their slabs.
Well, would you please be the delegate from the commissioners to email back to that engineer
Sure.
and just tell them what your opinion is on this, because whatever you say is the best thing, I'm gonna agree with it anyway. 'Cause you're the concrete expert on this panel.
Yeah, it'd be acceptable either method. This gets filled in with gravel, of course. So does this.
Well, that has ability to move, right? Because they're just, the
Well-
the load bearing of the slab is holding those,
Yeah, if you dropped.
they're like a mortise and tenon almost.
Yeah,
Whereas these are mechanical fasteners that hold them together. These could actually move under frost loads.
good.
The whole thing's gonna come up or not.
And with this, so the slabs are relatively small slabs, side by side, they're not like the length of the roadway.
No, they're only 10 feet or 12 feet or something, enough to bridge the pipe and add bearing on crushed gravel.
Oh, yes, and they did add the crushed gravel detail.
Detail, okay, good. Did they list it as 304.4, which is state spec gravel? Make a note of that. It has to be 304.4 state spec gravel, which is 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches crushed. 304.4 is the state spec number for the gravel we want. Your knit pack is not 304.4, it's another number.
It's a blend made by the quarry that's called Gulfstown Trail.
It's probably better than the regular material. All right, so would you do that for us? Let them know that we give them your opinion on the fastening methodology, and that when they do their plans, the gravel has to be labeled state spec 304.4.
I would suspect that would be on the plan that they finally bring back.
I would suspect a lot of things, Dave, until it shows up here and it's not there. Anything else for this commission, gentlemen and ladies?
Motion, Mr.
Chair, to adjourn.
Motion has been entertained to adjourn. Dan, you second it?
Second.
Motion's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, GTV, we're done.